What is going on YouTube, and welcome back to my channel Dojo Speaks. Thank y'all so much for joining me for this being my review for RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 10 episode 7. You guys, I didn't do a video for episode 6. I really wasn't feeling it, and that's mainly because of the 3 queens that went forward to the next round. I did not like that whatsoever, so I'm sorry for not doing a review for that one. But we are on the 3rd bracket for this season of All Stars 10. I have to admit that I don't necessarily like the way that they're doing All Stars this season. I think that it doesn't give all of the queens enough of an opportunity to do well in the competition. I think it leaves a lot of room for improvement. So I'm hoping that this is the first and last time that they do All Stars like this. But let's get into the queens that are here. So we have Diabetti from season 14. I have to say that I never noticed how attractive Diabetti is as a boy. Like, I was looking at this episode like, wow, like, whoa. I've never been the biggest fan of Diabetti's drag, to be honest. Especially on her first episode. Like, her entrance look and what she wore on the runway for the first episode, although she did improve as time went on. I did start to like some of her looks as time went on. However, yeah, I wasn't the happiest to see Diabetti on this season of All Stars 10. And judging by the fact that she and Ginger Minj were the top 2 queens for this week, I have a feeling that, that she's going to make it into the semifinals. Although Tina Burner did win the first episode for the second bracket and she didn't make it into the semifinals, but I just have a feeling that Diabetti might end up into the semifinals. And to be honest, this has to be my favorite bracket out of all 3. Excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry. I have all this gas, y'all. This is my favorite bracket, and we'll get to the reason why a little bit later. Speaking of Ginger Minj, we have Ginger Minj coming back for her 3rd All Stars, her 4th appearance on RuPaul's Drag Race altogether. I have a thing about queens that have been on All Stars before. I feel as though it's not fair for those queens who don't get the chance to go back to All Stars. There's so many queens that I wish that would go on to All Stars, and then we have all of these queens that are going 2 and 3 times on All Stars. Like, I personally don't like that. I have a feeling that Ginger Minj might win. I wouldn't be necessarily upset if Ginger Minj did win. She is an excellent queen. Her hair and her outfits are always on point. They're always great. So we'll see what Ginger Minj brings to this season of All Stars 10. Next, we have Alyssa Hunter from season 14. Alyssa Hunter is probably one of the most attractive drag queens that I've ever seen on RuPaul's Drag Race. Now, her, claiming to be the trade of the season, like, I'm a believer of Nina Bonita Brown's definition, and the general definition is, at least in the black community, the black gay community, of what trade is. Trade, meaning typically trade to us as African American gay men, is, like the thug type of dude that you wouldn't know was gay if you just saw him walking down the street. Alyssa, I mean, yes, she's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, as a boy and a female. She's good. I'm sorry, not female, but as a boy and a woman, as a drag queen, she's beautiful. But trade, I mean, I think the queens on RuPaul's Drag Race think trade means just a very attractive man, which Alyssa Hunter is that. If that's going to be, if that means she's the trade, then sure, she's the trade. But as far as like the true meaning of trade, to me, the true meaning of trade, Alyssa Hunter is not trade whatsoever. But Alyssa Hunter is beautiful. I'm not necessarily expecting her to make it into the semifinals, but I'm glad that she's at least on All Stars 10. Then we have Cynthia Lee Fontaine. She is from season 8 and season 9. I wasn't the most excited to see Cynthia Lee Fontaine. I have to admit she's never been my favorite, although she does have pretty entertaining confessionals, I will admit. I do like her personality. I've just never been the biggest fan of hers, but it's nice to see her back on All Stars 10. Not exactly sure how she will do. I'm not necessarily expecting her to make it to make it to the semifinals either. But we'll see where it goes from here. Next on the list, we have Acid Betty from season 8. I was so excited when I saw the Meet the Queens and Acid Betty walked onto that runway. I love Acid Betty. I feel as though Acid Betty went home too early on season 8. I thought she had some of the best looks on the runway on season 8 because, as far as looks are concerned, really Kim Chi and Acid Betty did the best on the runway, at least in my opinion, overall. But I hope that Acid Betty makes it into the semifinals. I'm not necessarily expecting it per se, but I do hope that we do see Acid Betty in the semifinals. And she looks great. Like, it doesn't look like she's aged at all. She has a great personality. And I love seeing Acid Betty and her creativity on the runway. And then our final queen in the third bracket is Denali. And Denali is looking buff and looking fine in these confessionals, honey. Never really been the biggest fan of Denali personally. I do think that she does drag great. I think she's a great drag queen. She just hasn't been one of the ones that I keep my eye on necessarily. But I'm glad that she is here for All Stars 10. I think that this is the most stacked bracket overall. I think this is the bracket that has the best queens overall. Mainly being Ginger Minj, Denali, Acid Betty, and Alyssa Hunter. But it is what it is. So the challenge is that the queens are making a Wicked inspired outfit. They're pairing up with another drag queen. One is going to be dressing up as a good witch, and the other is going to be dressing up as a bad witch. And so we have Acid Betty and Denali working together. We have Alyssa Hunter and Cynthia Lee Fontaine working together, and then we have Betty and Ginger Minj working together. And it seems like, Acid Betty was a queen that a lot of the queens wanted to work with, which I was really surprised about. But I think it's because they know that Acid Betty is really good at creating her own outfits. And I'm sure they wanted to be able to feed off of that energy. So as far as the looks are concerned on the runway, oh, and by the way, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are the guest judges, and it was so great to see them interacting with the queens, and Ginger Minj getting a little bit emotional when she was telling them how much the Wizard of Oz means to her and how much that she loved Cynthia and Ariana. So that was great to see. But let's get into the looks. So Betty and Ginger Minj. I didn't like the fact that both of them had a blue color scheme going on with their outfits. To be honest, I didn't necessarily care for their outfits per se. I thought Ginger Midge's outfit was better looking than Diabetes, but they ended up being the top two queens. I don't know exactly how that ended up happening, but that ended up happening. Alyssa Hunter and Cynthia Lee Fontaine, to be honest, they had my favorite looks. I know that the judges were kind of, getting on them for using so much cardboard, but to me, I mean, that goes into creativity. And, if you don't necessarily have the sewing skills, you improvise. And I believe that they ended up improvising with cardboard. And, yes, there was a lot of cardboard on both of their outfits, but I still, at the end of the day, thought both of the outfits looked great. They put a lot of glitter on it. I thought they were great outfits, but, the judges weren't here for it. And I guess they couldn't get over all the cardboard. I didn't mind it whatsoever. Of course, yes, we knew it was cardboard, but it looked nice at the same time. Acid Betty and and Denali, I thought they had great looks as well. You could tell that Acid Betty didn't do her best on her own garment, but she said that she didn't have enough time to, do as good as she wanted to do because she was writing the script, because the queens had to write a story for the reasons why they were a good witch and a bad witch. So, that unfortunately Acid Betty and Denali were not in the top two. So the top two being Diabetes and Ginger Minj, they both lip synced to Defying Gravity. I had a feeling that Ginger Minj was going to win, and she did end up winning. She got the extra point. So Ginger Minj has 3 points. Diabetes has 2 points. And we'll see what happens in the next episode when the bottom 4 queens give out their MVQ points. I'm hoping that they make it even and just give 1 point to each queen, so that we don't have the drama that we had in the second bracket. Because as entertaining as it was to see what Mistress did with Georges to Carrie Colby and Nicole Page Brooks, at the end of the day, I didn't like that as far as the competition is concerned. I think it should be as evenly matched as possible. And I think that's the best way to go about it, to give everyone the best chance of being able to move forward to the semifinals. So what did you guys think about this episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 10, Episode 7? Let me know down there in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Press that big red subscribe button. It is free and easy to do. It takes less than a second to mash that thing, so why don't you go ahead and mash it for a brother. Also, be sure to leave a thumbs up on this video. Let me know you're enjoying the content that I'm putting out on my channel. Be sure to leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this particular episode and how you think that this season of All Stars 10 is going so far. Be sure to press the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. And last but not least, be sure to share JoJo Speaks with all your family, friends, and loved ones. Let everybody know JoJo Speaks is out here in these YouTube streets. Last but not least, be sure to join me every Thursday night at 8 p.m. for my Hot Topics and Social Commentary Live. We always have a great time there. I film it with my sister Jennifer, who is the Light of the Leo on YouTube. So join me on Thursday night. But thank y'all so much for joining me for this review. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, y'all.